Clay Maddox had never been a man who believed in omens, but the sky that evening sure looked like it was trying to teach him something. Heavy purple clouds rolled low and slow across the horizon, blocking out the last of the sunset as if night were pulling itself forward early. The wind stirred with that uneasy whistle that usually came before a storm, though none was scheduled by nature's usual calendar. Even his horse, Pepper, kept flicking her ears back nervously, tossing her head every few steps. "Easy, girl," Clay murmured, patting her neck. "Just a bit more before we make camp." He tugged the reins lightly and guided her along the narrow deer trail that cut between rock outcroppings. The land was quiet, too quiet. No locusts buzzing, no coyotes calling to each other across the ridge. Even the breeze seemed to hold its breath. Clay Maddox had been riding this patch of Arizona territory long enough to know when the desert was trying to tell him something. And right now, it was whispering that something wasn't right. He slowed Pepper's pace, scanning the terrain. It was mostly open desert here, scrubby sage, scattered mesquite, a few stubborn cacti jutting up like old sentinels. But the silence pressed around him thick as wool. Clay tightened his grip on his rifle not out of fear, but instinct. Men who lived this far from town learned to listen to that quiet. Trouble liked to hide in it. He nudged Pepper forward again. The trail wound deeper into the brush where spindly ocotillo stalks rose like skeletal arms. Clay's eyes narrowed. One of the stalks was bent clean sideways, snapped as if something large had plowed through. That wasn't normal. He leaned down in his saddle and studied the ground. Tracks. Not hoof prints, too spread out, too deep at the heel. Human prints. Heavy ones. Someone had been moving fast and stumbling. Clay followed the trail with his gaze. Broken brush, snapped branches, dragged footprints. As if someone injured had forced their way through. He muttered under his breath, "What in the hell happened out here?" Before he could follow the trail further, the sharp metallic snap echoed across the canyon, loud, vicious, unmistakable. A sound that sent a chill right through a man's spine. A bear trap, recently sprung. Clay sat bolt straight, every muscle alert. Pepper sidestepped anxiously beneath him. "All right, girl," he whispered. "Let's go see." He guided Pepper toward the sound, weaving through the bushes. The sky had gone full dark now, clouds covering the moon. Clay's senses sharpened. He caught the faintest groan carried on the wind, low, restrained, full of grit. He moved faster. A clearing opened ahead, dotted with gray stones and twisted desert brush. And there, half hidden behind a fallen juniper trunk, lay a man, huge, broad-shouldered, locked in a steel bear trap clamped around his leg. Clay swung off Pepper so fast his boots hit the dirt before she even stopped. Rifle in hand, he circled slowly, checking the area. People didn't wander into traps like that on accident. Sometimes they were set as warnings. Sometimes as invitations. The desert had plenty of both. Only when he was certain they were alone did he crouch beside the injured man. The trap's steel jaws were sunk deep into the stranger's calf. Blood welled around the edges, dark against his skin. Yet the man wasn't crying out. Wasn't even breathing hard. He was simply bracing both hands against the dirt, eyes half-lidded but alert. Clay spoke carefully. "That looks like trouble." The man's head turned toward him. Strong features, hair bound in a thick braid, chest rising slow and controlled despite the pain. His voice, when he answered, was calm but weighted. "I know who you are," he said. Clay raised an eyebrow. "Do you? Now, you are Clay Maddox," the man replied. "The rancher who stops trouble instead of starting it." Clay snorted a quiet laugh. "I try. Some days the trouble don't listen." The faintest ghost of a smile crossed the stranger's lips, but it vanished quickly as he gritted his teeth against a spike of pain. Clay knelt beside the trap, examining it. Big, mean thing, iron teeth sharpened to wicked points. It must have been set by poachers or unlicensed trappers. No one with sense put something like this close to Apache territory. "How long you been stuck in this thing?" Clay asked. "Since the sun stood high," the man answered. "I kept still. Calling out would attract things far worse than silence." Clay nodded. A man who understood the desert. "You got a name?" he asked. "Nanton Taza," the man said. "Guardian of my clan." That explained his size. And his quiet endurance. Clay had heard stories about certain warriors who trained since childhood to protect their people. Most of the tales were probably exaggerated, but right now, seeing the sheer will it took for Nanton Taza not to bellow in pain, Clay figured maybe they didn't exaggerate enough. Well, Nantin Taza, Clay murmured, if you're guardian to your folks, we best keep you in one piece. He set his rifle aside and studied the trap's mechanism. Old but sturdy. Rust ate through some of its joints, but the spring looked strong enough to take a man's hand clean off if he wasn't careful. Clay reached for his saddlebag. I'm gonna pry this thing open. It'll hurt. Nantin Taza's voice remained steady. I am prepared. Clay grabbed a length of iron rod from his toolkit. He wedged it between the jaws of the trap and leaned his full weight onto it. The metal groaned, resisting. Come on, he hissed through clenched teeth. The rod slipped. Clay caught himself with a curse, wiped sweat from his brow, and tried again. This time, he repositioned the bar lower and braced his boots against the trap's chain. Nantin Taza drew a sharp breath as the metal shifted. Hold steady, Clay said. He shoved with everything he had. The jaws slowly, grudgingly opened. Now, Clay barked. With a grunt of effort, Nantin Taza yanked his leg free. Clay let the trap snap shut with a crushing metallic clap. The man's breath shuddered. Clay saw his control waver only a fraction before it returned. He grabbed a canteen and poured water over the wound to clear the blood. Then he tore a strip from his own shirt and wrapped it tight around the injury. You're lucky, Clay said. Caught mostly muscle. Missed the bone. Fortunate, Nantin Taza replied quietly. And fortunate that you came. Clay shrugged. Right place, wrong time. Or the other way round. Nantin Taza gave him that faint almost smile again. My people say there are no wrong times. Only paths you do not yet see. Well, right now I see the path to the settlement, Clay said as he helped the man sit upright. You'll get proper tending there. Nantin Taza opened his mouth as if to protest, then shut it. Pride was a hard thing to set aside, Clay knew. But the man's leg trembled even as he tried to stand. Clay whistled sharply and Pepper approached. Clay guided Nantin Taza's arm over his shoulder and lifted him onto the horse's back. The big man was heavy, dense as iron, but Clay managed. Folks at the settlement'll know what to do, he said. Medicine woman there's got away with wounds. Nantin Taza shook his head faintly. You do not need to do this. Maybe not, Clay admitted. But I'm already out here. Seems a waste to ride off now. The guardian studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded once, accepting. Clay mounted behind him, took hold of the reins, and clicked his tongue. Pepper moved carefully, knowing she carried an injured man. The storm clouds above grumbled, but the rain held off, leaving the night dry and cool. They rode slowly, Clay keeping an arm braced behind Nantin Taza to steady him. The desert stretched out in every direction, wide, endless, half-lit by thin ribbons of moonlight slipping through the clouds. After a time, Nantin Taza spoke again. I was hunting, he said quietly. A mountain lion that stalked our horses. I did not see the trap until it closed. Clay nodded. Poacher's work. Seen a few of these lately. Folks who can't hunt straight try to cheat the land. Never ends well. Nantin Taza's tone carried something darker. This trap was set near our traveling path. Too near. Clay heard the unspoken worry. Someone had laid a trap close to Apache movement routes. Whether by ignorance or malice, it was dangerous. You'll want to tell your chief, Clay said. I will, the guardian answered. But first, I must be able to stand before him. Clay gave a small grin. Well, let's get you fixed up then. They traveled for over an hour, the settlement lanterns finally appearing as tiny glimmers on the horizon. As they approached, dogs barked in the distance. A few late-night workers glanced up from their tasks, startled to see Clay arriving with someone slumped in front of him. Clay brought Pepper to a stop near the healer's hut. He slid one arm under Nantin Taza's and helped him down. The man's legs buckled, but Clay steadied him. The healer, a sturdy woman named Marta with silver hair and sharp eyes, burst out of her hut when she saw the blood. Clay Maddox, what have you dragged in this time? Just a man met a bad trap, Clay said. Marta's expression softened when she saw Nantin Taza clearly. Come inside. Bring him quick. With her guidance, they carried the injured guardian into the lamplit hut. Marta worked fast and sure, washing the wound with water infused with desert herbs, packing it with a pungent salve, and wrapping it in clean cloth. Nantin Taza endured it all in silence. You're lucky, Marta said finally, wiping her hands. Another hour and infection might have set in. Clay nodded. He'll be all right. With rest, she said. And no walking for a day or two. Nantin Taza frowned. I must return home. And you will, Marta replied firmly, after you listened to the woman who just kept you from losing that leg. Clay chuckled quietly. Nantan Taza gave Marta a respectful nod, acknowledging her authority. Marta turned to Clay. You did right bringing him here. Clay shifted awkwardly. Just did what anyone would do. Nantan Taza fixed him with a steady gaze. Not anyone. Clay didn't quite know how to respond, so he tipped his hat and stepped back. By dawn's first faint light, Marta had settled the guardian onto a straw cot. He slept finally, the pain lessened. Clay lingered only a moment. He wasn't one for taking thanks he didn't feel he needed. Once he saw Nantan Taza breathing evenly, he slung his saddlebag over his shoulder and slipped quietly out of the hut. He paused outside, looking toward the distant mountains where the guardian's people lived. Sunlight crept over their ridges, turning the sky a pale gold. Well, Clay murmured to himself, hope he gets home safe. Pepper stamped her hooves impatiently. Clay gave her a pat, swung up into the saddle, and guided her away from the settlement. The morning smelled clean after the night's near storm. The world felt calm again. But as Clay rode toward his cabin, he couldn't shake the strange weight of the encounter. The desert didn't bring people together for nothing. And a man like Nantan Taza, well, Clay figured this wasn't the last he'd see of him. At the time, he had no idea just how right he was.